Welcome everybody to video 5, and this time it's another Blu-ray review, and this time we'll be looking at one of my absolute favourite animated films of all time, and that is Princess Mononoke. And when I came there watching this on Blu-ray, it's stunning, and it's just a truly adventurous film. This came out in 1997, written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki, very much his work, and it's just an exciting action-packed fantasy showing the diversity of Studio Ghibli and the work of Hayao Miyazaki, contrasting completely with films like My Neighbor Totoro. This is a very action-packed kind of adventure story, fantasy story, and it's an action film essentially. It really is an action animated film, and it really does show how diverse Miyazaki is. The film tackles complex themes of violence, tribal war, survival, and it's got a very human versus nature kind of story that it tells, and I think it's one that on repeat viewings you would understand more and more. I've watched this twice now, and the second viewing was really the better one. The film begins with Ashitaka, a prince of a dying out tribe. The demonized boar god then curses him after battling it to protect his village. And so now he is cursed, and he needs to travel to find a cure, so he travels west. And he comes to this new village where he meets Lady Iboshi, who's running the village and trying to destroy the forest. Meanwhile, Ashitaka also meets San Mononoke, who's trying to protect the forest, and is also part of the wolf tribe. So she's raised by wolves, basically. It's quite a Tarzan kind of influence in there as well, being raised by animals, and also Jungle Book in there as well. But yeah, essentially that's the plot, and it just looks at Ashitaka going between each side, and really essentially that's the interesting thing about these characters in the film. You don't really know who's truly good or truly evil, and that's quite true to life, because every character in this film seems to have, they're not really on a side, especially Ashitaka. Sometimes he wants to help Lady Iboshi, sometimes he really wants to help Mononoke-san, and essentially I would say most people are on the side of protecting the forest, trying to keep the peace. And it just really looks at all those ideas of violence inside the forest, and between the forest people and the humans. The film also runs at 136 minutes, which I think is the longest animated film I know of. If you know of a longer one, let me know. It's very rarely you see a film over 100 minutes if it's animated, because one, it takes a long time, and two, usually the target audience of an animated film, they aren't going to stay for that long and stay interested. But this film is just something else, because it's got all the thrills of a live action film, but it's animated, which makes it all even more beautiful, because with animation you can manipulate everything. And I think the action sequences are some of the most incredible I've ever seen animated. You can see a great deal occur in every backdrop and piece of scenery, because all of the forest backdrops and locations and the design of the landscapes and everything, there's a lot of great detail in there, and it just looks beautiful. And again, just looks brilliant on Blu-ray. I can't stress that enough. It just looks great on Blu-ray. And yeah, this is really one of the most visually stunning films I've ever seen. Animated films anyway. As I said, characters sway between sides, and they do become quite unpredictable, which makes this subversive and unpredictable, which is good, because there's a lot of stories out there that are predictable in terms of being animated, and this one you really don't know where it's going to go, and it's thrilling right at the end. It's really engaging with all the characters, and there's even sometimes a little bit of humour, and Miyazaki always seems to do that with his films. He always gets humour in there somewhere. He always fits it in. A series of film this is, it still has a bit of comedy in there at times, and it's always really well balanced, because it never feels out of place. The most incredible thing about the film is it almost seems political. I mean, there's this one scene where the human characters seem like the most unimportant of everything, because you've got the wolf tribe, and there's the gorillas, and then there's the boars, and there's a scene when they're all discussing it where it almost seems like the politics of the forest, of survival, and they're all talking about ownership of the forest and what they'll do against the humans. Should we fight the humans? Should we not fight the humans? And it's very complex themes, and there is something quite political about that. I'm sure other people could come up with better political insight to the film. But yeah, it really is a human versus nature kind of film, and it looks at the outcomes of war and violence, and similar to Dusk of the Valley Gentleman, it's got that environmentalist kind of idea as well, about why should we destroy the forest? It's nature, it's beautiful, we should keep that sort of thing. But obviously Lady Iboshi has different ideas in mind, And what's also interesting is Lady Eboshi, as I talk about her now, you think she's the antagonist of the film, but really it's a film that doesn't really have an antagonist or protagonist. It's really just a film with a situation and all these different characters are trying to deal with the situation. That's the only way I can really describe it, because the characters are good and evil, which, you know, that's the duality of man right there. And that's what makes it so interesting, and overall I couldn't stress enough to check this one out if you're interested in animation. And there's also a few special features in here as well on this Blu-ray release. We've got the complete feature-length storyboards, which, a bit like Nausicaa, it's just throughout the entire film, it sits in the corner, and I think that's incredible. Princess Mononoke in the US, which was a little featurette looking at the release of Princess Mononoke in the United States and the reception of it, and Miyazaki talking about the film. Original trailers and TV spots also are in there. Not loads of special features, but you know, I would say it's worth buying because this is such a great movie. Nice sleeve there. Let's see this. Nothing too fancy inside. It's also a deal format edition, which is great. But overall, I would love to hear your thoughts on the film if you've seen it, and what you think of it in terms of its messages and complexity and themes, because it's got a lot in there. I mean, it'll take more than 2 viewings to really consume it all, I'd say. But yeah, be sure to share your thoughts on the film, and if you haven't seen it, check it out. And now we're coming to the end of Studio Ghibli week, and the last video will be up tomorrow, and it'll be my top 5 Studio Ghibli films. I was tempted to make 10, but when I consider the fact that Studio Ghibli only have 20, just talk about half of them, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't want to do an awkward number, so I might just do 5. And, well, that's it really, everybody. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed tomorrow's video. And if you need to, catch up on the other videos. We had some great guests this week, Studio Ghibli week. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.